So job done for Liverpool. They make it 2 wins from 2 in the Champions League with a 2-0 victory over Bologna here at Anfield this evening. And although the scoreline may make it look like it was a fairly comfortable one for Liverpool, I don't actually think that kind of tells you the story of the night. I think, going into this game, there was talk of Bologna being one of the easier opponents that Liverpool are going to face in this stage of the competition. But the reality is, after the first 20 minutes where Liverpool take the lead, they have a few chances, it looks like it's going to be extremely straightforward. In fact, I think after that, Bologna really showed their strength and what they're about and made it really difficult at moments. I mean, one thing that impressed me about them is they've got this kind of man-to-man pressing style, quite similar to Atalanta actually in that fashion. And Liverpool, once they got a bit of rhythm with that and a little bit of confidence going with it in moments and weren't scared to do it, then I think they really showed Liverpool, why they are considered such a good team and such a well-coached team, and they made it really difficult for Liverpool to play through at times. And I mean, they also had their opportunities. I mean, they hit the post, they hit the bar, and they're constantly in the game. Even at 1-0, you're thinking that this is in the balance really up until the moment that Mohamed Salah produces a moment of genius, really cutting inside to the box and a brilliant curler into the top corner to go with the absolutely fantastic assist he got. But I think that's one of the things I actually kind of liked about Liverpool tonight, is that this is very much kind of a different win for them, a different type of win than we've seen maybe under Arne Slot. Obviously, as I said, that man-to-man press very similar to Atalanta, and although you might say, okay, well maybe they're not as good as Atalanta at that, but you've got to, well actually, I would argue that they exactly are really. I mean, these two sides finished next to each other in the table last season in the Champions League spots, and they're next to each other down in I think 12th and 13th at the moment in Serie A, so having very similar seasons, had very similar seasons last time, so it gives you an idea of kind of the quality really that Bologna have got, and the fact that they can make it difficult for sides. But I think Liverpool kind of dealt with that well. There were a few moments when I think after that initial 20-minute burst when Liverpool were all over Bologna and they started to work their way back in, a few moments where Liverpool got caught out with it and found it difficult, but they seemed to really kind of calm down after that and manage things, manage the emotion of the game and manage the difficulty of playing around that press much better after that. And I think half-time helped as well, Slot giving them a little reminder of what they needed to do to play around it. And although they never reached the heights of the first 20 minutes again, I still think, as I say, they were quite mature in managing it and did a really good job in that. And I think you can see that really in that, the shot count ends with Liverpool having taken 9 and Bologna having taken 12, but Liverpool have 4 shots on target and Bologna just managed just 2, which again I think shows you that Liverpool, even when they were struggling at moments with the man-to-man press, always very solid, always restricting the quality of the opportunities. And again, the expected goals bears that out. Liverpool 1.17, which is one of the lower ones they put together this season, but just 0.56 for Bologna. So when they were getting their opportunities, they weren't high quality opportunities, and Liverpool doing really well to manage that and really sensible. And I think this is the kind of performance, particularly as it's coming in the Champions League, which is obviously the highest level that Liverpool will play. It's a really controlled performance, a mature performance, but also a really professional one. And as I say, not maybe something we've seen under Slot so far. In that, we've seen different types of games, but Liverpool have generally been very, very dominant in most of the games, particularly in terms of chances created. But in this one, they just needed to manage it at 1-0, make sure they weren't giving anything up, and wait for their moment to show their quality, which of course came when Salah curls that one in. So I thought not an out of this world performance from Liverpool, but one to admire really, and one that has got them a second win in the Champions League that puts them in a very good position after 2 games. Now, I usually at this point focus on individual performances, so I'm going to pick out a couple here and don't want to end on a negative, so maybe going to go into one here. And for me, Darwin Nunez, I have to say, was one of those. Now obviously he starts this game with Diogo Jota having had that foot injury. Jota makes the squad, but obviously not considered fit enough to start. But I think Nunez shows in this one why he has been that second choice centre forward so far this season. I just really did think he was poor for Liverpool tonight. I mean, what they needed in a situation where you're playing against a man-to-man press is you need someone who can help relieve the pressure, someone who can hit the ball over the top. They'll either get on the end of it or control it, and you can play off them. And they just didn't have that in Nunez today. He wins 2 out of 7 duels and completes 4 out of 12 passes. That is extremely poor, to be honest. And he just didn't have that out ball which he needed to be. And one of the things you have to say is that he looked like a rough diamond, didn't he, in Jurgen Klopp's system, where it was a little bit chaotic. He kind of fitted into that style where, you know, he had rough edges with his finishing, and you know, you wanted him to be cleaner in his contacts with the ball, but he was generally looking like he could consistently generate opportunities. But he doesn't even do that really in Slot's system so far. He isn't really the shot magnet that he was under Jurgen Klopp. And then you're seeing all the worst aspects of his game, like some of the badness, you know, the struggles that he has in build-up, really. They're being kind of exacerbated, and really seeing a bit more focus on those. So again, you know, like I say, 4 out of 12 passes, that is just not what Liverpool need. And, you know, it's interesting, really. I think he's had one good performance so far this season. I thought against Bournemouth he was pretty good. You know, he scored a great goal, but also his general play in that game was much better than this. But that is one good performance, and I think otherwise he's not been fantastic, really. I thought he didn't do a good job against West Ham, really. He was poor in that one. Jota gets the 2 goals alongside him, and then poor again in this one. And it's an interesting one, because I think, you know, your big worry is, what if Diogo Jota gets an injury? You're getting an extended run of Darwin Nunez in the team, and at the moment he doesn't look a very good fit for this type of football. We are into his 3rd season at Liverpool. Should we be seeing more? I would suggest yes, and a little bit concerned by his performance tonight, although it didn't harm Liverpool in the end, and they were able to come away with the win. But it wasn't a surprise when he went off for Jota around the hour mark, you have to say. And, you know, your big hope now is that, can Slot get more out of him? Can he use his coaching ability to get more out of the player? I'm slightly sceptical at this moment, I have to say. It's been a long time, his Liverpool career up to this point. We've seen a lot of games of him, and those rough edges don't seem to be being knocked off. But, you know, we will have to see how that progresses as the season goes forward. Now, I said I didn't want to end on a negative, so I'm going to end on a positive and talk about an individual performance from Dominik Szoboszlai, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. He's had a lot of criticism after Wolves, and I thought a little bit of it was quite unfair, to be honest. I think he's not had a perfect season so far, but he brings an awful lot to the team. You know, and I've said that I think one thing he needs to show is a bit more care in possession, and I think he did that today as well. I think, but he also kept all of the other good aspects of his game, which is his work rate is unbelievable. It's absolutely relentless. I think sometimes, you know, maybe it doesn't come across on television sometimes with Szoboszlai, that some of the gaps that he plugs in midfield with just relentless sprinting to get back in, to cover for his teammates, to make sure that Liverpool are difficult to play through, even if he's not the man who lost the ball. He does that constantly, and you'll see him pop up to at least slow the opposition down, or just turn them backwards to stop a counter-attack. He's absolutely brilliant in that. And as I say, that care in possession was also added to that today, which I thought, you know, gave him an all-round good performance. So 5 out of 7 ground duels, won 4 recoveries, shows the defensive aspects. He has a shot that rolls just past the post, quite unlucky with that one. Completes 2 out of 3 dribbles, and some just divine touches actually in the final third. Lovely little flicks to play teammates. Him really controlled when he got the ball. I thought he was absolutely fantastic tonight, and deserves a lot of praise, particularly in counter to the criticism that he's faced recently. He's still young, and I think, you know, he's a fabulous player who's only going to get better this season. So excited to see that happen, as I already thought that we saw that happen tonight. He was very important for Liverpool. Now, going to leave it there for the individual performances. One more point I want to raise before I go is about the fact that I'm kind of surprised that Slot made so few changes today for this one. Just the one with Darwin Nunez coming in. Obviously, it's Liverpool. They've got 12:30 away coming up on Saturday, away to Crystal Palace, which is typically always a difficult game, even if they're not in the best form. So I expected a little bit more rotation. Now, obviously, maybe the result tonight shows that he was right not to rotate too much. Obviously, it was a much more difficult game than maybe people would give it credit, and Liverpool had to get the job done with the players they had on the pitch. So, you know, maybe he was right to select that 11. But we will see if there's any cost to that when Saturday comes around and that 12:30 kickoff. They are always so tricky away from home. I know, obviously, Liverpool, if they'd been away tonight, wouldn't have had a 12:30, but it makes it really, really difficult, even if you've been at home, doesn't it? The extra travel and the quick turnaround in training time. So that's really tricky. So we'll see whether Slot regrets that on Saturday, but we don't quite know yet. And I'm sure he doesn't regret selecting it right now after getting what was a hard-fought win for Liverpool. So I'm going to leave it there for tonight. Do let me know in the comments what you thought about the performance. Who stood out for you? Who was your man of the match? What did you think about that Nunez performance? Maybe I've been too harsh on him, but do let me know. And of course, Crystal Palace is coming up really quickly, so I'll be there for the press conference coverage as per usual, and then coverage of the match afterwards as well. So I'll see you guys very, very soon.